What is up, IDP Army? It's your man Jordan Reigns at 50 Shades of Drunk, joined today by our friend from the Offensive Points podcast, Joe Wiggins. How's it going, Joe?
It's going well, man. How you doing?
Good, good. Joe and I are going to be breaking down three of our favorite stacks for Underdog Fantasy going into this next year in this video. We're not gonna be, no, it's not gonna be like a crazy deep dive or anything like that, but we just want to let you guys know that these are some stacks that are going pretty cheaply and we think can return a lot of value. I do a lot of underdog drafts. Joe does a lot of underdog drafts. They are one of our sponsors of this channel, of the brand. So click on the link in the description, hop in an underdog draft now. Let's hit this intro and we'll break them down for you guys. All right, we are back. Like I said, today's show is going to focus on Underdog Fantasy. Go check out all of our other shows, though. A lot of IDP rankings went up over the last couple of weeks. We are doing team and division previews right now. We just uploaded the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders team previews. I got some stuff ready. I think the Jets are up as well. Got the Eagles going up soon. The Cowboys going up soon. So a lot of good stuff going on the channel. I think this is probably the third video that's going to go out today. We are very busy, but it's good to be on here with Joe. Yeah. So, how's your underdog drafts been treating you so far this year?
Oh, it's been awesome, man. If I'm not working or doing anything, if I'm watching TV or just, messing around on the computer or something, I am doing an underdog draft. Ton of strategies. I'm finding a lot of good stuff. There is a ton of value out there right now that people are just sleeping on, absolutely sleeping on. And I'm snagging that up. Now, I'm sure come August, we won't be seeing that as much, but right now I love the value you're getting. Always doing drafts this time of year.
Yeah, a couple of guys that I have been taking a lot. I know Gabriel Davis, he's kind of a player everyone talks about in fantasy now, but I mean, we were taking him. I'm sure you were taking him when you could still draft him well into the 30s on underdog. Right now, he's like wide receiver 21 or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's no longer like a great pick anymore, but there's still players available. Some of them we're going to talk about right here, available on Underdog Fantasy that are being way, way, way undervalued. So like I said, do us a favor, subscribe to this video, join our Patreon so you can support us, join an underdog draft that will support us as well, and try and get some of these stacks we are about to talk about for your fantasy teams going this year. Best Ball Fantasies, what's up? So let's just go ahead and open it up. Our first stack, okay, it might shock you, okay, but it's Patrick Mahomes being drafted right now on underdog, ADP 49 overall, almost the fifth pick. So it's, or fifth round, late fourth, maybe sometimes in the fifth. QB3. People are taking Josh Allen and Justin Herbert ahead of Patrick Mahomes this year. He adds JuJu. He loses Tyreek Hill. JuJu is the player that I like to stack Patrick Mahomes with. Also available in that 5-6 round area. Sometimes current ADP on underdog is 54.9 overall. That's wide receiver 27. You're allowed to draft Patrick Mahomes' de facto number one receiver. This is the second year that the Chiefs tried to get him onto the team as a wide receiver 3 in fantasy football. To me, this is not going to continue to be available to you as a stack option. And when you can get guys who have the upside, in my opinion, I'm curious what you think, Joe, to actually finish number one overall at both of their positions, and you don't really even have to pay a true premium for either of them. What are your thoughts on this? And do you think JuJu is going to rise through the ranks, especially as training camp starts coming out and we start getting little snippets and tidbits?
Yeah, I think we're going to start hearing a lot of good things about JuJu. I mean, listen, the value you're getting at him at is awesome. He has not had a true alpha in this offense since Antonio Brown, or with an offense with him since Antonio Brown. Big Ben was slow. The line sucked. JuJu never had a chance to run his routes in Pittsburgh. Kansas City has 345 vacated targets from 2021. We know MVS is not going to be a target sponge in this offense. And I really don't see any way that Andy Reid trusts throwing a rookie, Sky Moore, directly into the fire here. So JuJu and Kelsey are your dogs on this offense. I do expect them to feature the run a little bit more heavily in 2022, but there is still a lot on the plate for JuJu, and the potential is there for him to absolutely outperform his ADP and be a tremendous value, especially paired with, I still think he's the best quarterback in the league. You can tell me it's Josh Allen. I still think it's him.
I'm not going to argue because I think that they're both awesome. I mean, it's like pick your poison. They're both incredible, top of the top tier. And I bet if they go head to head 500 times, one wins 250, the other wins 250.
Yeah.
I just think that we're forgetting, JuJu Smith-Schuster as a true sophomore, 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's never even had a double-digit touchdown season in his 5-year career in the NFL. Now he goes to the best quarterback in the league, a guy who is first year starting through 50 touchdowns. Okay, we forget this last year, injured, 0 touchdowns, and it was Big Ben, so we already kind of knew it wasn't going to be great. Reverse back 2 years ago, it wasn't even Big Ben. It was Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges or whatever, Duck Hodges. Still was able to, pull 97 targets in from these guys, but who cares? 9 touchdowns, actually a career high with that crap ass, quarterback play. And people still, coming into last year and want to go back 3 years, the Big Ben first kind of year where he didn't have AB. We forget he struggled with injury that year. Only played 12 games. Okay, so it's easy to write off JuJu because we forget that in 2018 had 166 targets, 1,426 yards. He could get 166 targets from Patrick Mahomes this year, and if that happens, I mean, it doesn't. I don't understand why it couldn't. Maybe couldn't. Maybe it won't go that high. 130, 140 still makes sense. Especially as the type of receiver he is, with the touchdown upside that we know Patrick Mahomes brings to the table. In my opinion, at wide receiver 27, a wide receiver 3 on your team, and if you go heavy wide receiver, he's a flex. That's a smash every time on Underdog Fantasy for me. So, yeah, that's our first stack. Any final thoughts before we go to our second stack?
Yeah, I mean, for the dynasty lovers out there, which we get a lot of this year, he's only 25 years old. You don't think of JuJu being that young, but he's only 25. So even if you are an ageist in fantasy football, grab him an underdog at that slot, and he still potentially has room to become a better receiver than we've seen so far in his career.
Amen, amen. Again, only 25, exactly. There was a time the dynasty community talked about JuJu Smith-Schuster the way they now talk about A.J. Brown, the way they talk about Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So, and he's only like 1 year ahead of those guys. All right, moving on to our second favorite stack on Underdog Fantasy this year. It's got to be Dak and Dalton Schultz for me. Dak right now going as quarterback 11 doesn't even really make sense to me. Looks like I got his whoop, went too far ahead. Dalton Schultz going as tight end 6. I think that the reason I like this stack is because I'm not really trying to stack CD and Dak because I can get Dak so late sort of in drafts. I kind of like to just kind of finesse around and do other things. And the part of the thing that I like about Dak is he's almost a quarterback 2 right now, QB 11. The rushing chops did go down. We do know because, he came off that injury. But I'm still a huge Dak Prescott believer. And I think the Dalton Schultz connection that he had last year can't really be understated. 808 receiving yards. That's really, really good for any tight end. 8 touchdowns. Not like a gaudy, unrepeatable number. And he did it only on 104 targets. And I think there's room for him to get more targets in this offense. A safe player to throw to. That trust has been growing. Only his 4th year in the league this past season, which makes sense as a tight end would develop. So what are your thoughts on the Dak Schultz stack? And do you have a lot of this in Dynasty? Or not in Dynasty, in Underdog? Because I found myself taking this a lot. Sometimes as my number 2 offense on my team. So like when I make a team, I might have somebody else stacked first. I can get these 2 guys as a secondary stack on my Underdog roster. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely speaking my language here. On our OP podcast the other day, we went on about this for quite a while, so give that a listen for a little bit more depth. But I mean, listen, Dak is healthy, and Schultz steps right into, in my opinion, be the number 2 target in an offense that vacated 205 targets last year with Amari Cooper leaving. So there's a lot of opportunity here. It is absolutely fascinating to me that people are sleeping on Schultz this hard. We were talking about him being a top 3 tight end over Waller and Kittle on our pod. So everything is kind of being laid in place there for Schultz really to step up. We don't know when Gallup is coming back. James Washington is a solid role player, but he's not going to demand a lot of targets. And Jalen Tolbert's a rookie from a small school. So, there's not a whole lot behind him. In 5 healthy games in 2020, Dak threw for 1,800 yards. If you extrapolate that to 17 games, that's over 6,000 yards. Now, that's ridiculous. I'm not saying he's going to throw for 6,000 yards, but after losing Cooper, he could hit 5K, and Schultz is going to get a lot of that. So that's fantasy gold.
I agree with you completely. And Dak's just been getting better too. He's always been pretty good, but the last 3 years he really has stepped it up. And as Zeke has stopped, as he stopped having to hand the ball off, the first 2 downs every, like he did the first year of his career, his numbers are going up and his efficiency is staying fairly high. What do we got here for a completion percentage? Last year, 68.8%, highest of his career. And remember when he was touted as a rookie for having such a great completion percentage? He only threw 311 passes that year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or only had that many completions. Added 100 more completions this year, 410, and brought it up. So he's literally just like we're seeing a really interesting place right now, in my opinion, in quarterbacks where a lot of these guys we know we're going to be good. They're there, like they're great now. And Dak at QB 11 in Underdog, even though, and I think the reason people are fading him is because last year the rushing was not there like it had been in the past. Still doesn't matter. 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, dropping back to pass almost 600 times. Like he's compensating for the fact that he's not a rushing QB anymore by throwing more. And on top of that, he still takes it in around the goal line. Maybe he's not taking those, those big runs, but he still, will take it, tuck it and run, throw his shoulder down. He's still Dak Prescott, the guy that we've come to know and love. Even people that aren't Cowboys fans like me. I love Dak Prescott. Literally one of the coolest dudes in the NFL, in my opinion. So I love the stack of him and Dalton Schultz. Like I said, it's a secondary stack you're able to get. Any final thoughts on those two?
Yeah, redraft, there's a ton of value for these guys to be had here. So, we're talking Underdog today, but as you go into your leagues, I mean, these guys are available. I would almost take this one step further and tell you that Tony Pollard is going overall 83 and running back 27th. Losing La'el Collins is a big deal for that line there. So I think that Pollard, honestly, you could have a 3-way stack with Schultz, Pollard, and Prescott, and I think that could be pretty beneficial, especially in the higher scoring games that they get this year.
I love that. I love what you said there too, adding a third player to the stack. I love triple stacking. You know what I mean? It's like that's kind of when I do stack the Bills, it's always I take Josh Allen early, and then in like the 9th and 10th round, I get Devin Singletary and Dawson Knox. I'm not worried about Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis anymore because they're just too expensive to try to make that stack. And it also gives you a unique quote unquote stack because everybody's trying to stack the ones, Josh Allen with Diggs. So when you go into the playoffs, let's say Diggs gets knocked out early or he just doesn't have a good game, you're going to get an edge over a lot of other teams that chose to go that route. Whereas it turns out this is the Dawson Knox, Gabriel Davis game.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, everyone's doing the Mahomes, Kelsey, the Diggs, Allen. Everyone's really shooting their shot at the top of the draft. So if you can get that later and add to your wallet of players right there, it's always beneficial.
Yep, because that gives you an out that a lot of people are not going, or a lot of people are circumventing because they are viewing the primary stack as what's going to actually get them there. And we forget in season, good weeks happen to everybody, and bad weeks happen to everybody too. So you kind of, in the summertime, you feel safe with some of these guys. Then you get in the season, you're like, ugh, man, another 17-pointer. Could have gone for a 25er this time, man. And some guys just don't do that, and it's best ball. So you really, really do kind of want to have some spikes and variation, which again is why I love Singletary. I'm avoiding James Cook too. I haven't drafted him anywhere in Underdog because everybody, I mean, like somebody drafts him every draft, but they're always taking him ahead of Singletary.
Yeah,
I'm just
he's going real high.
It doesn't make any sense to me, honestly.
We just did a dynasty draft. I think I had to take Cook in the 8th, and I got Singletary in like the 10th or 11th to follow it up. So that's pretty much where people are at on him.
Singletary, and people forget he was a dog towards the end of last season. They gave him carries. I mean, and when they started doing it, he warmed up. He heated up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Bills. That's kind of my. We're on a side tangent. This is a sidebar stack for you guys. The secret Bills stack is Skip Davis, Skip Diggs, Knox, Singletary, Allen.
I like that one a lot.
Remember. All right, we're going to give you all the real one now. Our third stack going in. You might surprise some people. Billy's probably falling out of his chair. I have Kyler Murray in a positive light today. Shocker. Kyler Murray going as QB5, 59.7 overall ADP. A little high for me, but I do still love that he is a running quarterback. So if I am kind of in that area of the draft where I want to take, if Allen's gone and maybe I'm not trying to do the Kirk Cousins build or like the super, super late build, I'll take Kyler because I know he's going to put up the points. And the reason I like taking Kyler is because it doesn't pigeonhole me into anything else for the rest of the draft because AJ Green is the guy I like to target to stack him with. AJ Green right now going as wide receiver 84, pick 194, basically 100% free. Now, I do understand he's going to be 34 this year. But he had 92 targets and 848 yards last year. Okay, only 3 touchdowns. And where I want to bring this up is with Hopkins out and all this, if he can bring his touchdowns up a little bit, which I think is a reasonable expectation from 3 based on 90 targets and who he is, maybe a better fit in the offense kind of scenario. I think that AJ Green is a great player to target late and to stack with Kyler because again, he's going to be this player that a lot of people are not chasing or pursuing. I see so many people are in on James Conner this year. I'm not, it's gross because he was cheap last year. That's why you loved him, and now he's too expensive. People are still taking DeAndre Hopkins probably a little too high, in my opinion. So I like to go with this very, very late stack. Take Kyler kind of early and then just chill. Take all kinds of wide receivers and all kinds of running backs, anything I want, basically. And then with the last 2 rounds, I'm able to get a guy who I could foresee having 2 to 3 wide receiver 1, maybe even top 5 weeks this next season. And as a free pick, why not?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the beauty of it is it's absolutely free. I mean, getting Kyler, he has enough standalone value. Hopefully he can get his rushing up and kind of return to form there. But this can really bring you a hot start at the beginning of the season here. Green is free, and he can bring you the productive games that Jordan was talking about. I do think we need to temper expectations on this one a little bit because Marquise Brown was added to the offense, and he is Kyler's boy. And Ertz averaged 8 targets a game with Kyler when he was playing. And this is understanding that Hopkins is coming back to midseason form. So this is not something that you're going to anchor and expect to be, you're not reaching for Green at this one. But if he is available and he is free, he is absolutely valuable and can put up some big weeks for you because, I mean, AJ Green's one of the best. He's done it for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2017. We understand it's been a while, but 2018 we know was a tough year for him, got cut short. 2019, he missed the whole season due to an ankle injury. 2 years ago, Cincinnati was nobody. I mean, like you just write that whole season off for everybody. But last year, showing signs of life, 848 yards, played all 18 games, started 16. Again, I attribute him not having an overly great season more to I don't think Kyler Murray's super great as a quarterback. He obviously couldn't get it to AJ Green in the red zone. But that's here nor there. To stack on Underdog this year, I'm in love because again I can take Kyler and I don't have to worry about stacking him until much later. I take Zach Ertz sometimes now and again. I forgot to mention him earlier, but AJ Green is basically a free pick just to kind of get that diversity because at that point in the draft, there's so many players people are drafting that are literally never going to see their lineup, and
Right.
I just feel like people are looking for that moonshot. I'm like, why not take a moonshot that you actually are projecting to be in your lineup 2 or 3 times? A guy like, AJ Green in a good situation, talented player, etc., and just go ahead and finish off a nice stack, get yourself a little deviation from everybody else. So that's why I kind of like AJ Green. I will say, guys and gals, sorry, my graphics today, I swear I updated them yesterday, but sometimes when I download them, they don't bring the saved version onto my computer. So some of these are a little bit like this one says Patrick Mahomes 59.7. It's supposed to say obviously Kyler Murray. That's my bad. But you guys get the gist of it, especially if you're on the podcast. You don't even know what I'm talking about. You're like, this guy's insane. What is he talking about right now? But anyway, that's it for you guys and gals today. Like I said, we just want to do a quick video, break down 3 of our favorite stacks for Underdog right now. These ADPs for some of these players is probably not going to stay this low. So take advantage now. Go ahead and click the link in the description of the podcast or this video. Get into Underdog Fantasy now. And go ahead and sign up for the Patreon too. We have some really cool things cooking in the background. We're going to announce in the next few days to give you all some more ways to access the content, maybe without just joining the Patreon or whatever. But we still love our patrons. They're actually getting this video first. This live stream is going to the Patreon. That's one of the perks of being a Patreon member. But we'll save you the shill for all that stuff for later. Joe, any final words?
I think, we got a couple more of these stack videos coming out here, so keep an eye out for those. And it's been a pleasure riding with you guys. Go win your drafts.
Woo, woo. Let's go.